You're on.
Okay, good evening. It is January 21st, 2020. This is a meeting of the Tufton Borough Budget Committee. I see that we have a calling the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Input? None forthcoming. We'll go over the minutes of the January 7th meeting. Anybody see anything that jumped out at them?
Looks good to me. Me too. I move that we accept the minutes as read.
The move, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain since I was not here.
Certainly. Okay, nothing on the chairman's comments, so we'll move right into the part of the evening. First thing is the Willand Road petition warrant articles. Skip.
Yes.
Grab a chair, come on, sir.
Come right up. Okay, so, I don't know, did you guys get any of these, talking points I've got out? Did everybody get those? Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit of background on Willand Road and my involvement. And so I've been on Willand Road for 38 years. And when I came to this town and was interested in the property, I inquired from Mary Craig some background information on the road, and she looked up when the road was discontinued and gave me that information. And I talked to Thad Coleman, who was a selectman then. I don't know if any of these names mean anything to any of you people. And he and Charlie Whitten and let's see, Johnson, the contractor, were the selectmen at the time. Yeah, right. And so anyway, Thad said, yeah, no problem going out there, put yourself a house. And when you get enough residents, probably 3, then the town will probably start maintaining it again. And then a few years later, I had a similar conversation with Charlie Whitten about when the road would be maintained. And he said, well, when there's enough people on it, and that might be 3 year-round residents, you know, people using the road, 3 year-round residents. And then probably 15 years or so ago, I had a similar conversation with Norm Vittum, and he said the same thing, 3 residents. Okay, these were all individual conversations. These people weren't in a group, and they all came up with the same number, you know, out of the thin air. It has no legal binding, anything they said. It was just establishing the fact that as far as they were concerned, the roads were discontinued because it was a cost-saving measure. Nobody used the roads anymore. And so once they started getting used again, then the town would start maintaining them. So now I signed on to that, and I agree with it in principle. I think it's a good idea. And the reason I think it's a good idea is because you're getting a certain type of person that thinks they can, you know, homestead something and improve the road back to standards it was. And the goal is that with enough hard work, he'll be rewarded with the maintenance. Well, so I've played by the rules. You know, I've put in probably $40,000 or $50,000 over the last 38 years. I've paved an apron, I've widened it, I've put culverts in, and I've maintained it, and I've brought electricity up, and now we've got, besides myself, 3 other year-round residents on the road. And unfortunately, there's an argument that we shouldn't allow building on Class 6 roads because you're going to attract people that are going to be buying property at a discount, and they're probably not going to be able to make it, and you're going to end up with shanties along strip sections of roads. And it's a valid concern, but I personally would be willing to take the risk, just because if you don't do it, you're excluding people that are of limited means from bettering themselves. And so I don't want to create a situation where we have a group study on Class 6 roads. I would like us to go forward with the intent of when I bought and act on what's taken place over the last 38 years. So I would like the town and the budget committee and the selectmen to sign on with stating that Willand Road is now a Class 5 road, meaning it's subject to maintenance. So the arguments for people that are really against wanting to spend any money and wanting to see Class 6 roads be upgraded, it's a tough one to argue. It's, you know, if you don't want to spend the money, I don't have a really good argument for you, because you're going to spend money. But what I did in order to discuss the money side of the issue of what it costs the town if they take over a road for maintenance, I took some of the numbers. I asked Helen to look up some numbers. And so these are the numbers that we raised through vehicle registrations and then the block grants that we get. Okay, so last year, I guess it was, or was it the year before?
2019.
2019. Okay. Okay, we raised $767,000 and some change. You know. So we spent last year $486,000 on the roads, maintenance only. I'm not talking about paving the roads. If we're coming up and we're deciding to pave roads and you're going to appropriate a couple $100,000 bucks or whatever, I don't know what that number is, because I'm not asking anybody to pave any roads, and so it wasn't concerning. I'm only concerned with maintenance.
Is Willand Road paved?
No, that's what I was going to, I forgot to touch on that. There are now currently 34 miles of Class 5 roads in Tuftonboro. Back when I did the road study committee, and Gordon was on that, and I brought a copy of that, we had 33 miles. So we've increased a mile. Out of that 34 miles, according to the study that you guys, the selectmen, had for the culverts and whatnot, we've got 5.8 miles that are not paved, that are Class 5 and not paved. We also have 5.5 miles of designated Class 6 roads in town. Okay, so if you take on and reclassify the half mile of Willand Road that I'm petitioning you to reclassify, you'll be increasing the paved portion by 28.5 miles, right? That's just for Willand. Okay, so
What were you saying you spent on the roads last year?
For maintenance, for winter maintenance, we spent $340,250. For the summer maintenance,
$369,154.
The
That's what we
numbers I
spent.
gave you were not the final numbers,
Okay.
because
Okay.
they were the most recent that I had.
yeah, and I'm just giving you ballpark numbers so that you have an idea, because I don't think anybody ever really breaks it down. And I'm sure the average guy, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm sure the average guy sitting at the town meeting doesn't have a clue about anything that we spend on roads or how we get it
Mine was
or anything else.
elongated.
They probably don't know where it is any more than they knew Sawyer Road.
Yeah, right, and so.
Get big.
So I want to point out that for the fall and the spring and the winter and the summer, we spent $486, thereabout. Let's call it $500,000. We spent $500,000. Okay, we took in, what did I say? We took in 767,000. That's including the block grants. Right, so if the balance, I assume, either goes back into the general fund or you used it for your roads, for paving.
Well, there's more, things like culverts
Yeah, well,
and
if you
the
take the-
mowing.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm just doing maintenance. I'm just doing what,
Well, you can't do it that way, Skip. We did 645,000 $645,000 for the whole highway budget. That's what you gotta look at.
Okay.
Then we spent $180,000 on pavement. So that's $785,000.
okay.
So it's pretty close to what we took in.
We took what we took in, well, that's great.
And if you look at it, I guess you were saying 35, I thought it was 42 miles of road that we had.
No, it's 34 is what the, I got my numbers off of the town report for the study that you guys had.
Okay, so it's 34, so you're talking.
And that's where I got all the mileage, 5.8.
If you take the whole budget, divide it by 34, it's about $20,000 a mile.
Well, I came up with 14.
Let me clarify one thing. You're not asking the town to pave the road, correct?
No,
Essentially, you're asking the town to run the grader over it, make sure it's ground correctly. If it needs some fill, to take care of that.
well, I'm
Keep
just,
an eye on the culverts.
yeah, I'm trying to make the budget committee members aware of what the costs are gonna be to accept a half mile of road.
Mhm.
So if I come up with 14,000 for a year and you're giving it, that's 7,000 a year cost extra that the town's going to be getting. It's going to be spending. Rather than that 7,000 go to the existing 34, you're gonna lose some.
Are there regulations about how wide the road needs to be and whether it has to be, and the condition of the road when the town takes it over?
No, it's, the actual law states, see, because this is already a town road. And the law, only governing requirement on the law is that the town cannot require the road to be upgraded to a better standard than the best town road currently. So if we have Ledge Hill Road or Union Wharf Road, whichever is the best road we have in town, you, the selectmen, the town, could say, we want you to pave that road and we want you to have it be this wide. And the abutters on that town would have to absorb the cost. The abutters of that road would have to absorb that cost based on a betterment assessment. You know what, so the cost would not go to the town to upgrade the road to these best standards. But it's kind of getting wonky at this point, because all I'm trying to get down is basic information so that the people at the town meeting are going to know that they're going to be spending $7,000 a year. And it's not a frightful number, it's not a big number, it's nothing. But the return they're gonna get, most likely, and this gets a little bit of an extrapolation, but the property values are going to go up on those houses. It's not me. It's not, I mean, I've got a great place. My place is going to be worth a whole lot more than I've ever paid for it, ever put money into it. Regardless of if the road gets. The people that are really going to get the biggest benefit are the people that live down the road from me, and they're poor people. I mean, they are of limited means. There's 14 people that use that road. One family in particular has a severely handicapped child, and they have a four-wheel drive van that's about 12 years old, and she needs constant shipments of medical supplies. And I have, for the last 20 years that they've been there, I have helped any way I can. I take the FedEx packages, they drop them off at the compound, and I sand the road and plow and do all this stuff. It used to bother me a lot, because it's like, who the hell even let these people get to move on here, you know? How can you do this? But you can't really stop it. But if that road suddenly becomes a road that they can use, and that FedEx can go up to their driveway now, that's a big plus. And I'm kind of, this is another guess on me, but I'm assuming that's at least 2 of those houses are probably going to go for sale in another 5 to 10 years, simply because the kids are going to be gone, and the people are going to be tired of living on the road, and they're going to want to get what they can on their capital gains and move to a nicer place. So if the road stays like it is, those valuations are going to be depressed, and you're probably going to get another group of people that are going to come in and buy them because it's a great deal, and they're going to be of limited means, and you're going to start going, your trend's going to start to reverse, at least for a certain section of the road.
Does maintenance, which includes grading, et cetera, does it also include snow plowing?
Well, that's in your winter maintenance, that's $340,000 is what we paid for winter maintenance.
Yeah, he took the whole budget and divided it by the mileage and
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the private roads that have been with subdivisions that have to be maintained and aren't plowed by how those people are gonna feel about having taxes, some of their tax dollars going to maintaining and plowing a Class 6 road when they have to afford their own plowing, their own maintenance on those roads, and all the costs that go with it.
Well, the fact is, let me make this very clear. It's a town road. Properties have been subdivided. Building permits have been issued. The intent has been that when it reaches a certain point of occupancy, the town is going to start maintaining the road. And those are givens.
Why did this?
Why is that given?
Why?
Public and private. If you live on a private road, you can't expect the town to do it, but.
No, but
If it's a
this
town
is
road.
this is a town road.
It is.
This
Why
is a
did
town road.
the town stop maintaining the road?
Well, okay, I'll give you a little bit of history, and I put it in this, and this is worth noting too. That road was laid out between 1819 and 1822. And it was deliberately laid out. It actually connects 171 with 109A. It's at the intersect point of the general store. You keep going in a straight line at Federal Corner Road, and you will come out on 171. It was a purposely built road. At least this is according to the history of Tuftonboro. Whereas Ledge Hill Road, according to the history of Tuftonboro, was a haphazardly laid out road, and they really don't have a definite time frame as to how all those various pieces connected. But in any case, that was a public, because when roads were first laid out, the property owner that fronted that road was responsible for maintenance of the road in front of his property. That was the way it was done until about the 1880s. After the Civil War, you had a lot of people that left, and then towns started maintaining the roads. And this road was maintained publicly for at least from 1880 until 1924. In 1924, the town voted to discontinue. Now, the interesting thing about that is the road was still used. The camp, because it was a boys' school, was Camp William Lawrence. It was actually run as a boys' school prior to it being a camp. And once it was a camp, and once the road was discontinued, that road was still used to ferry the kids from the trains in Ossipee to the camp. And so when it was discontinued, they referred to that as the driveway of discontinuing from 171 to the driveway of Camp William Lawrence, because it was still kind of used as a road, and they thought of the driveway as the start of the camp property. And that's why when it was actually voted at town meeting, they changed the phrase to the property of the camp at the time. So what I'm getting at is the road was still used as a public through road even after it was discontinued. And it wasn't until the trains quit running in Ossipee that it really went into an abandoned state. Now, just as an aside, if you were the Willand family and you had 118 acres of farm and it had been on a road that was maintained for 40 years, and because of economic turmoil you had to leave and you left the family farm there, and then up in town up and decided, well, we're no longer going to maintain the road anymore, so you're out of luck. I mean, if that happened to any of you now, you'd be a little bit upset. I mean, it was a public road. You lived on it. And now they're not going to maintain it simply because you're not there living on it, because they're going to save a few bucks. It's the only, New Hampshire is the only New England state that has that designation of Class 6 road. Vermont does not have it. They have Class 4, and those roads are subject to property owners. They're not public throughways. Same with Maine. So it's kind of a unique thing. In any case, back to Bob's question of, it's not going to go away. It's a public road. People are living on it. There are 14 residents that use the road up and down. They've got, I guess we've probably got 20 cars registered. They all work locally. We do not ask the town to do anything. We don't think the road needs anything. We're not asking the town to do anything in terms of improvement. However, if the road agent and the selectmen decide that that road needs some improvement, needs culvert, needs to be widened, needs more gravel, then we are fine with them going ahead and doing a betterment assessment. And Steve Allen and I are more than willing to talk to the selectmen to try to mitigate that tax that would be applied to all the other landowners or abutters. And we don't have any objection. The other thing that a little caveat, because I was looking into this a little bit, and this could be wrong, but you know, you're going to have, the reason I brought this up was because the biggest argument is probably a moral argument. And if you're going to take on, if the town's going to vote to take on Farm Pond Road, now Farm Pond Road is 7/10 of a mile. And there are 2 year-round houses on that. And there are some really nice houses being built up there, but right now I only counted 2 year-round residents. And
It's apples and oranges, though.
Nah.
There's no litigation that's been settled by the Supreme Court that says that we have to reclassify a Class 6 road.
Oh, no.
Based on residency. There is court precedent that says if we demand that a developer build a road to town specifications,
right.
we have to take it over.
Oh, I know that, but then there is also, this was the larger point that I was going to make, is there's no requirement to state that you want to discontinue maintenance on the road. All you have to do is notify the abutting landowners of the road that you're going to discontinue maintenance on, and you can vote at town meeting to discontinue maintenance. So the point being, if Bob wants to say, well, we have to take these roads over, you're right, you do have to take the road over, but you do not have to maintain that road. And you can look into it, I've looked into it, briefly. I mean, there may be some obscure RSA that says, if a town takes the road because of this, then therefore it's exempt and they can't do it. But we just discontinued Thomas Point Road. We abandoned Thomas Point Road, which was a Class 5 road.
Mhm.
Remember that?
Yeah. But that's the option that the town has. Town doesn't have the option to create a Class 6 road.
So what you're asking the town to do, and I want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Sure.
You're saying that you and another abutter want to maintain the road? Are
No.
still going to maintain it?
No, we're saying,
But you will pay a betterment tax?
well, we're saying that we don't want to see these people that are of limited means get a huge tax bill to you know, to better the road.
Because you were throwing the betterment easement phrase out there, and I'm.
No, the selectmen have, but by regulation, if the town votes to accept this as a class 5 road, the selectmen can decide that things need to be done, and they can issue a betterment assessment, and that means all the people that live on
Okay,
that
fine.
section of road
All right,
are going to get paid, are going to be taxed.
That's
And what Steve and I are trying to do is, we're willing to, you know, discuss with the selectmen about if it's gonna cost $40,000 or something, and we'll be willing to address what we can do to help mitigate what that tax bill would be for the other abutters.
So you wanna go from class 6 to class 5?
But do we do
Yeah.
that before the fact or after the fact?
No,
It's after the fact.
Yeah, we do the warrant article conditional upon inspection.
Okay.
So if that transaction's gonna happen afterwards.
Right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that the town, and see, I'm going to have to discuss, I'm the one, I guess, the selectman informed me of this last week, that has to go up and speak to the warrant article, since I'm the one that petitioned the warrant article. I am going to tell the assembled that I have discussed this at length with the budget committee members and with the selectmen. And I will tell them what they spend on maintenance and what this cost is gonna probably be, $7,000 a year. Maybe I won't say that. Maybe I'm just gonna say that I've discussed it at length with the selectmen and the budget committee members and let it go. I'm hoping that the selectmen will be kind enough to put the Farm Pond Road on the warrant article on the votes before this road goes on. Just because the only leverage I really have comes down to just moral conscience on the voting public. And if they want to somehow think that they're gonna save themselves a few bucks and that there's no moral equivalence here on what they're deciding, then fine. But I would like them to be aware of that they just voted to accept the Class 5 road.
So just to summarize, what you're really saying is this was once a town road. The town,
Still is.
Still is.
I know. And the town elected to stop maintaining it at one point.
Right,
It still is a town road, and now you're asking that the town maintain it again.
correct.
Does that kind of summarize
And
it?
we're not and we do not expect any.
Not improve it, maintain it.
improving. Yeah, we're not expecting it, we think it's fine. And the other,
And I live on one of those private roads that Bob was mentioning on Schoolhouse Road.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds hoity-toity, but it's not, believe me.
No.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
you
rough
gotta-
road.
You gotta hold onto your hat when you're going over that
no,
road.
I've been over that road.
And you know, the
Maintenance is.
Maintenance is expensive.
Is a serious
and
issue.
plowing is expensive.
Oh,
But on the other hand, you know, the residents have the option to bring the road up to town standards,
Yeah.
which it never was.
Well, have you ever questioned the cost of bringing up to town, the
I-
road to town? It's
I-
gotta be, what, 24 feet wide?
It's $500,000. I did some rough numbers, it's $500,000.
And
And none of the residents want to.
and it also,
Pay that.
does the town still require curbing?
No. Farm Pond Road doesn't have any curbing on it.
Well, this is a petition warrant article, so are we even voting on this?
Well, I would like to see a unanimous vote for it. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have something that you can be particular about. I can tell you that when the road was discontinued, it was not discontinued for any reason. They did not state that it's too narrow, it's too rocky, it's too muddy. There was no reason for the discontinuance other than they just didn't want to spend the money on the maintenance.
Can you detail your $7,000 estimate?
I thought I just did detail
Just a
myself.
division of the road cost.
Are there other
Oh,
class
wait.
5 roads in town?
Yes.
So we can know what a class 5, what?
I'll speak to that if I may.
Yeah.
Langs Pond Road is a class 5 road.
Okay.
Well, but the Lane Pond.
Two pieces of
Road
Langs
Limit
Pond
is a
Road.
Class 5 road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 pieces of Lang's Pond Road are maintained year-round, okay? The short section by Mrs. Greenwood's house, and from the Wolf Road Town Line to number 88, which is owned by David Campbell, a house that I helped to build, which is at the top of the hill, past the beach coming from Wolf Road. Now, these taxpayers need their road maintained year-round so that they can have access to services like fire department, ambulance, and things like that. I believe Skip is trying to make that point that as taxpayers, these people need to be able to have this kind of access, and the town should provide it for them. Am I incorrect?
Well, I get, no, you're right.
Oh, good.
I'm just stating that for the last 38 years, selectmen have been taking actions that indicate a final outcome. I mean, they're not issuing building permits and letting people subdivide on a Class 6 road without the knowledge that sooner or later they're going to end up taking over
Well,
the
I
maintenance.
think more importantly to that part of the equation, they're not allowing subdivisions on Class 6 roads. They can't not allow you to utilize your property. So if it's on a Class 6 road, I think it's been town policy forever, that if you want to get there, however you get there, here's a waiver, sign the waiver, and you can use your land.
Well, but they have allowed subdivisions. That property was subdivided, and the property beyond me was subdivided into 6 lots. That was before I even got here.
Has the selectmen voted on this yet? For a recommendation?
No.
You didn't do it at your last
Not
meeting?
formally, no.
We hadn't finished the tally on the
So,
petition.
so the other.
I mean, I think the selectmen are in favor of it. Personally, I'm in favor of it. And the point I'd like somebody to make at some point in time is, I'd much rather have people building houses on roads than we would have them carving up the backland. And the easiest way to do that is to allow building on roads. This is a prime example of what should happen as opposed to.
What would happen under, and this is maybe far out, but what would happen with a fire truck trying to get to on a class, if
You
it's
sign a
not
waiver, if you're gonna put a building up, you sign a waiver with the town, releasing the town from the obligation or the liability of not putting your house up.
Yeah, but see, back 38 years ago, I didn't have to sign anywhere.
No.
So I could demand. But you can't, it's completely absurd.
Well,
The
this
whole
isn't-
thing is
this
absurd.
isn't-
We've given this subject a fair amount of discussion.
Yeah, I understand. So the cost is gonna be $7,000 if you decide to.
Well, we don't know, you can't use that figure because you're doing rough division, and we don't know how much that's gonna be in, it's an estimate, don't be saying.
For maintenance.
For maintenance, but you're just saying we're gonna take all of our roads and divide and think that
Yeah.
everything is gonna be treated equally. Some years, your road might not need anything, speak of.
Oh, yeah.
Some years it might need more, but we know there's gonna be a cost involved. So, with that in mind, and to keep the process moving, does anybody care to make a motion to support this article?
Yes. I'll make the motion that we support the petition warrant article to reclassify a portion of Willand Road, starting at the intersection of New Hampshire Route 171 and continuing 2,640 feet from Class 6 highway to a Class 5 highway.
I'll
Motion has been
second
made,
it.
and there has been a second. Any further discussion on this? Report coming, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed?
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. Here's your pen. Well, that would be great, because, I'm probably as popular as,
Me.
as,
No, he's got you.
who's that guy, Zimmerman. I'm probably as popular as Zimmerman.
I don't know. I kind of like Paul.
Thank you.
Moving on,
See you
moving
guys.
on to the Mirror Lake Estate easement warrant article. Steve?
Oh, could I just
Yes,
ask
I'm sorry.
one question first? Since this is a non-financial article, do we officially need to vote on it?
The last one. No, Mirror Lake is actually going to require money.
Right, but this one
The last
is
one.
its own, so we don't need to.
I didn't mean to, but you did, but.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with showing support.
Once again, Steve, step back and stop here, right?
We'll ask the if it's been confused.
Well, I'll wait for the
It's last on the list. May not be anybody there to vote on.
That's true.
Well, on this list,
On this list, it's the last
People
one.
come to see. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so, Steve. So we did that.
what can you tell us about this, Steve?
I made your map. It looks like I went to one I did. Oh, here they are. I hurt my shoulder today.
Stop doing it.
Man, it hurts.
Good what we do. Okay. I've been through this on TV and you're familiar with what's going on. Thank you, John.
So we'd like to acquire an easement to benefit the town and the residents of Mirror Lake. This green portion and this red portion. The green portion is in Tuftonboro, the red portion is in Wolfboro.
Is this, have to do with the effluent coming from Wolfboro?
Not anymore,
Oh,
but that's the way it went. And that was 2007, cyanobacteria bloom, which is most likely associated with that spray field that was on the other side of Abenaki ski slope. And this property, which was being cut heavily at the time. And those who know water science know that when you take the vegetation away, there are lots of nutrients in the soil that that vegetation is using. When they take that vegetation away, then those nutrients tend to flow out freely into streams, and there's a stream. This is the main source of water to Mirror Lake, is that stream that goes right through here, right up to that Abenaki Pond.
We call it Joe Abbott Brook.
So this property was formerly owned by the Herseys. They sold it. It was purchased recently by Kip and Ruth Latchner. They were approached by the Mirror Lake Conservation Committee about doing a conservation easement, and they said that they were willing. And we now have a signed letter of intent covering 120 acres, and we know where it is. We know how much of that is wetland and how much of it is upland. And we know that that's all we need to know right now to apply for grants. So the money we're asking for in this warrant article is to facilitate obtaining grants to pay for this conservation easement. So what a conservation easement is we're buying the rights to develop the land. If this landowner wants to take 2 lots out of it and then sell the rest under conservation easement, the lots that they want to take out are in the right place. If you're going to develop something.
You know where they are?
They're approximately in this corner
Mm-hmm.
and up in this corner.
So they're waterfront?
No,
They're not waterfront
not
lots?
waterfront.
First one, it's all swamp, how could it be?
So the 120 acres that is available for conservation easement is the highest priority of any land that could be available for an easement. This is the highest priority, because most of the water that drains into, it comes from this part of the watershed, which is, over 90% of it, drains down in through this swamp and meanders through these wetlands that are in here. And this kind of represents the last line of defense you want for that water that goes in there. The Mirror Lake residents in Tufneboro, there are 75 lot holders around the edge. Their property is valued at $33,356,000, and they contribute approximately $337,000 a year in taxes. And water quality is important when it comes to evaluating shoreline lots. If cyanobacteria blooms become common in Mirror Lake, then if you look at other places in New Hampshire, those property values go down. And so this is a financial asset for us, as well as the majority of, the vast majority of these property owners live on private roads and don't consume a lot of services from town, so.
Well, they're all private roads.
So this is, well, there's 109, which is, of course, that's a state road, we don't pay for that either. So this is a small contribution we can make.
Did the Hershey's ever try and discuss easement with the town?
Not with the town. They sold an easement to NRCS, that's the Department of Agriculture.
Yep.
On this little piece right here, which is all wetland. That's, and so where we're going is we would like to first facilitate with NRCS because they already have a stake in Mirror Lake. We think that there's a high probability that they would approve this grant request, and they have the least expensive option for the town to do this. The more expensive option is to go through the LCHIP and ARM fund. ARM fund is a fund that when you want to develop and you have to destroy some wetlands, then you have to pay into this ARM fund. That becomes like a bank account. And then projects like this, where we want to conserve wetlands and protect water quality, they're high priority for this kind of fund. Also, under both LCHIP and Farm Fund, you can apply not only for the cost of purchasing the easement, but also the cost of facilitating the grant request and any of the other things like surveying or appraisals that go along with the effort. You can get those paid for by the grant too. So in a way, this is seed money that we can get back.
Is there any problems with it being in two towns as to what occurs in one and what occurs in the other?
It makes it a little more complicated. So I've already been to Wolfboro Conservation Commission, and they are willing to hold the easement on the Wolfboro side, which is the simplest way to do it. So we would hold the easement on this side. This is under the ARM fund. This is the more expensive option. We asked for $12,000 to do this. The selectmen thought there might be too many moving parts, and they recommended $3,000. I'm planning to come back next meeting and make another attempt at the $12,000. That's why I'm telling you all this now, because I might be back on the 4th.
And so that 12's just to try and get the easement
Yeah,
for grants?
yeah, it's kind of like a loan. We did this with the Great Meadow purchase, which is almost in the bag, and appraisal costs, surveying costs, and some of our consulting costs are actually covered in the ARM fund grant.
I see that the last line in this thing is none of these are guaranteed.
Yep, not guaranteed. If we make the effort to apply for these grants, and we would do this for a consultant, these are competitive, so quality buys more results. I think we've had enough experience now. There's a possibility that we could actually try doing this grant ourselves and save thousands of dollars. But we've gotten involved in so many things, we just don't have the horsepower. So we would use a consultant to do the grant request and also do some of the environmental reports that have to go with it. So that's what most of the money is for.
So if you have suggested, if you wanted to do it $3,000 instead of the $12,000 that Steve asked for, is there a reason we couldn't put it in the budget, the operating budget? Does it have to be a warrant article?
No, it doesn't have to be a warrant article. I mean, the letter that Steve got signed satisfies a good deal of what our concern was. And we didn't have a commitment from the landowner before we started writing warrant articles for tens of thousands of dollars. It just seemed a little cart before a horse sort of situation.
I've also had a couple of conversations with them since then, which I hadn't done.
Yeah.
So do we have a commitment from them now?
I think that's what this letter is.
Oh, okay, that's one of the.
Yeah, it's got a sign on the back. I didn't know, I noticed Steve hadn't signed it yet, but I'm sure he
But
would.
that letter addresses your concerns, pretty much what you
No,
thought?
it just begins the process. Now we've got a commitment from the property owner. When we met with Steve prior, we just had a notion.
Right, but your concern was that commitment, as I recall
Part
from the
of,
meeting.
part of our concern was
Okay, that's good.
that, then you go on from that to the grant situations. This Mirror Lake Protective Association, are they tossing some money at this?
So
I
I
mean,
guess
all
my
of the-
question
but
still
Steve-
is, should it be a warrant article or
It's
just
a
in
money
the
article.
operating
Well,
budget?
I think the selectmen are in agreement that it should be a warrant article. Because we want the town to weigh in on this project.
Okay.
It's, if you stuff it into the operating budget,
Yeah.
then Steve gets to write about it in the Tuftonboro Times, but it really isn't. People aren't participating, and I think we all think it's important.
I would make the motion that we table this article until our next meeting and give Steve the time to do his homework and possibly come in on the 4th with better numbers or something different.
Hey, could I add one more thing that I
Oh.
didn't get to yet?
I'll back up.
So part of this is a timing issue. Our preferred method is an RCS grant, which because of the federal budget's been so small, they just passed it a couple of weeks ago. They still haven't divvied up all the funds to the state. Until they get that, we can't get an answer back. So, and they're saying right now that might not be until late March, which is beyond town meeting. So our second option is go for this on-fund and LCHIP grant. LCHIP grant is due at the end of April, and the ARM fund is due at the end of May. So if we can't find, if we go through town meeting and only come up with $3,000, then we can't fund applying for those two grants. And we'd have to wait a whole year and then come around and ask for it the next year. And this is one of those things when something this desirable is available, you want to move on it. You don't want to leave anything to chance.
I find that anytime you have to approve something because they've got a knife held to your throat and it's a time issue, and you get it done quick is not normally the best decision.
Well, I don't think
made.
that's not gonna determine the price. I mean, that has to be
Yeah.
determined.
No, that's
before
my
anything else.
appraisal.
Well, the article's not going to be voted on until March by the town meeting.
Right,
So certainly no money will be available before then.
right.
Again, I make the motion that we table this article until the next meeting, and Steve can come back and give us an update. Do I have it?
Second.
Oh, we have it.
So, okay, just so I'm clear, we've got a second for discussion, hopefully.
Mhm.
So the 4th, we're doing our,
The town,
Fourth, we have our meeting prior to the official budget hearing.
okay,
right.
all right. So, my only concern would be that we load up that pre-meeting, or pre-hearing with
Plenty will
doing
take.
things, so.
Do you think you'd have, when do you anticipate the earliest that you would have more information for the selectmen or the budget committee?
I think I have all the information now. But
You have all the
Probably
information as far
have
as a hard
in
dollar
about a
figure?
week.
So you're telling us that the $3,000 is not going to be enough to do your second, not your first choice for your funding, but your second funding is gonna take more, correct?
The NRCS option could cost us $4,000, but we have land acquisition funds in our regular budget.
I understand that, but now you're talking about the L-chip and the other one is gonna cost, as I remember from your presentation to the selectmen, you were talking $12,000?
Yes,
Okay, so this $3,000 is only gonna be the stopgap for your best scenario funding, correct?
yes,
And your second best scenario is gonna be $12,000?
yes.
Okay.
So if we're at 3, and NRCS doesn't work out, then we're dead for a year. And I'd be back in here next year.
Without having 12,000?
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't be asking for 12, I'd probably be asking for something like 9, because some of the work that we do for the NRCS application
All I'm
would
doing
be
is
applicable.
I'm
to
trying to
that.
pull figures out of your presentation, the selectmen, I sat in the corner and listened to, that's all. I heard 12,000, so.
Well, 12,000 is what it says in his write-up.
Yeah,
Steve, out of this 147 acres, how much of it is wetlands?
Probably half, but that's off the top of my head. I got a report, if you want to take a minute, I can get it.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just wondering, if the homeowners just kept that, and half of it is wetlands, they can't do any development there anyway.
well, most of it's not developable property anyway, so
No.
you can't get to it.
Yeah, I know, so I'm wondering,
Which is what
So
the Hershey's always found.
Actually, the priority isn't the wetlands, the priority is the uplands that are around the wetlands that filter the water that go into the wetlands. And that's, the same thing with, you heard one of my spiels on the Great Meadow. Nobody's gonna build anything in the Great Meadow, but it's the rim around it to protect it.
there's a rim
Great
around,
Meadow and all
there's a
the-
rim
all the
around
water
this
that's-
buildable stuff?
Yeah,
Those buildings was getting to it.
So if they grant an easement, does the town pay anything for the easement?
That's what we gotta raise money. Well, that's what he's getting a grant for. I mean, how
so in the case of NRCS, they would actually hold the easement, and we would have
Oh, right, it's,
an executory, forget the other word, but we're like the second easement holder, and it gives us veto authority if the NRCS ever wanted to make a change, and if the NRCS ever had to abandon it, then we would take it over. If, in the case of L-chip and ARM option, then we would actually hold the easement on our side, and Wolfboro would hold the easement on their side.
You can
And you know
extend that
this-
out 2 years? You can extend that proposed agreement out 2 years? Is that, is that,
So,
18 months.
yeah, that's,
yeah, we can
That's
extend
two.
the effort to 2 years.
sometimes it takes a while
To
to
raise the money.
get through the granting process, and then they have requirements. Lots of times, something like this, an easement purchase is a lot simpler than actually a land purchase. And so I think this would probably slide pretty fast.
And you know if Wolfboro's putting this together from their 35 acres or whatever they is in Wolfboro? Or are we doing the whole piece? We can't do the piece in Wolfboro.
Right, well, we actually can, but we have to pass that at town meeting. There is a state provision, I think it's called SP3, where
But do
towns
we-
can hold in outside if they've got a good reason. Now, it's usually something like there's a municipal reservoir, and part of the watershed is outside the town.
But we're spending Tuftonboro taxpayer money to get an easement in Wolfboro, which I find less.
We're getting an easement to protect
Viable.
Mirror Lake, that's what we're trying to do.
So is Wolfboro putting any effort into this?
They would have to put some effort in it to hold the easement.
That's it, though, no.
They would have
None of
to,
this.
they would have to do their
Getting
own.
the grant money cost, none of the cost would come out of them.
I haven't discussed that with them. If I actually knew what something would cost, I'd ask them for participation. I went to their December meeting and I did ask them for financial participation, and they said, how much? And I said, I don't really know yet. And they have They have over $100,000 in their conservation fund, which is where if we had that kind of money in our conservation fund, I wouldn't be here today. But they're willing to spend money out of that conservation fund. But I can't say they've committed to anything. I'm going to the next meeting.
Is it absolutely necessary that we have a professional grant writer on this? Isn't that a major part of this cost?
Yes, that's a major part of the cost.
There's no other way of circumventing that and doing it?
There is, we could do it ourselves. But that's what I was saying at the beginning, that Tufts River Conservation Commission is involved in so many things now. We're struggling, and I'll tell you, that's mostly me. And I'm almost a full-time town employee right now, the way things are going. So, and I'm the one on the commission that has more of this kind of experience, so I'd probably wind up carrying the ball. I wouldn't get it done, I don't think.
And I think that's an unreasonable expectation.
Very few conservation commissions actually do their own applications.
Should we?
We have a
vote?
motion on the table, we have a motion on the table right now
That's been
to
seconded.
table this until the 4th of February, pending perhaps updated figures for you, correct?
Might I ask Steve's opinion on that motion? What would you want us to do, Steve? I think it's the only way to go. He's got a much better handle on this whole situation than we do.
I would like to come out of the whole thing with a $12,000 commitment and support of the selectmen and the budget committee. That's my target.
Are you gonna
Tonight
have-
or next week? Or 2 weeks?
If waiting until the 4th, you think that makes that more probable, then the selectmen would still have to.
We're waiting for it, well, this is a budget committee budget, this is not the selectmen's budget. My point is, you're gonna have more relevant information for us if we wait till the 4th.
I won't have been to Wolfboro by then.
Well, in other
I
words,
think the answer is no.
the answer is no. So with that,
Do we know who the consultant is
Vanderpool.
Vanderpool, and is this a firm figure coming out of him? If you say it's a major part of $12,000,
It's an estimate
and what is that estimate?
of $12,000.
So he's taking the whole 12.
Yes.
It's for him to develop surveys and
Yeah.
the reports required.
And so why is the article written for 3 if what we really need is 12?
I have to say that neither Rick or I have actually applied for an NRCS grant. I'm currently on the Carroll County Conservation District Board of Directors, which is the kind of volunteer end for NRCS. I did that just specifically to find out more about their programs, so forth. This is not going through them. This actually comes out of the state office. So there's some people I haven't met yet there, and if there's a little more information I would have by the 4th, it would be talking to some of those people about their process for selection. I know that they don't have a yearly deadline like LCHIP and ARM have. You can put an application in any time. They wouldn't accept any right now under this particular WRE grant because they haven't divvied up the money between the states yet. But I have some more questions that I want to ask him. So I think that is the only additional information I might have at that time.
well, I say again, we have a motion on the floor to table this article. If there's no further discussion, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Oh,
No. Okay, so that motion fails, so we're back to the original,
Can I make another motion?
of course.
Please? Can I make a motion that we increase the $3,000 to the $12,000?
I'll second that.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Now, I would ask the selectman representative to enlighten those who were not at this, at your meeting as to why you pulled back from the 12,000 to 3,000?
Well, as I remember it, and it's a long time ago, one of the issues was obviously the commitment from the landowner. The other was maybe less certainty that we couldn't nail the landowners down to the conservation easement, give ourselves a little more time to track through it, try to get the initial grant that Steve was talking about. And if we were unable to do that, we'd still have the intent in place, and we could either take some money out of conservation, I don't know that they have enough to do it, or bring it up again next year. I mean, underlying everything on my end of things, and I can't say that this is true of all of the select board, but is the whole budget. And all of these little elements keep pushing in the wrong direction. I mean, we've got some big things that are going on, and then we have some smaller things that are going on, and we want to make sure everybody gets something, but whether or not they get everything they want is debatable. I know Steve wants the $12,000. I think he's done a fabulous job of defending his position, but driving me is not that, it's the general budget as it stands. And we had the library last year, which kind of threw us off. And I'd like to come back into some kind of stasis, if we could. So that's my motivation. I'm not at all against the project. I think it's a wonderful project. I think we should do it, but I think there's probably ways that we can structure it so that we can have a little breathing room for the money.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can we consider putting pressure on Wilbur to contribute into this $12,000? Because they're taking a free ride on this, so to speak.
Well, they're taking a free ride, but they've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
It's not their lake.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but
I would say they have nothing to gain.
Exactly.
Actually, this is gonna make work for them, because they'll have to go inspect it, use it every year.
Yeah.
And it
Is
doesn't
there any
benefit
Wolfboro
them.
shorefront on Mirror Lake?
No.
Yes.
No.
I think.
Yes, there is. There is.
Yeah.
You go down McCarthy, Anner, and those side roads down there. and
Oh, I
go
was in
across
there,
that way.
Lake, too.
Oh, yeah. There is.
They're being a team player on this.
That's good.
Was it
Really
Peter
don't have it.
Peter Gold down there?
Excuse me?
I'm just trying to think of who's living down there. You're right, there are backside.
I know there are, because I had spent some time down there with young ladies.
Memories.
Okay, well, motion on the floor then to
Increase.
increase the warrant article number to $12,000. We have further discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Barry's opposed? You're opposed. God, you're in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so, all right, very good, 5-2.
Who's opposed besides?
Barry and I.
Very
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Chip just because it was
So we've approved $12,000.
Yes. Good work, Steve.
up to.
up to.
Up to and including.
It's,
So I will promise to, if I have any new information, I'll come forward.
Very good.
are we still able to negotiate with Vanderpool?
Sleep well tonight.
I mean, see if we can leave something on the table?
We authorize him to do work. He doesn't get $12,000 out of it. So any step that he's gonna take on this project, we have to authorize it. And then we look at the work before we pay him. So particularly if we go with the NRCS option, then he's only gonna get a couple of thousand.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Moving on to a couple of revisits that we have. First is 4195 cemeteries. I assume that you all had a chance to look at the email that Karen sent out pertaining to the information for this meeting. It came out last week. We have a situation is that we had damage at the town cemetery last year, and our insurance company paid us $2,111 for this. But the work cannot be completed until this coming spring because of weather and circumstances. This was pointed out by the auditors to Diane during the course as they were doing their audit. And because the money, we have the money, but the money was not spent, so it was not encumbered. It's a clerical thing. It should have, perhaps should have been encumbered, so we knew where it was, but it wasn't. So the auditors are suggesting that we increase the cemetery budget by the same amount of $2,111, so we can do the work with money that we already have in hand. It's just in the wrong pocket, the same pair of pants.
So what line would that go to? The cemetery maintenance?
Yes. Believe.
So that would become 15,111?
Mhm. I did not do the math on this.
So when did that come in, Karen?
What's that?
That money?
In 2019, but the repairs haven't been done yet.
Did it, no, I was just trying to think of revenue. How did that, so you can't add it to the revenue of 2020.
Right, I
Which
understand it'll be
cemetery does that go
2019
to?
revenue.
Which cemetery?
From what the auditors.
That's
said.
Those are the town
Which
cemetery.
cemetery?
Yeah,
But I understand.
Right,
it'll be
and the damage was
19's
done.
revenue.
the damage was paid for.
I
I
don't
can't
know if it's
remember,
on
was
that
it
list.
trees that we hit something, was it tree
Maybe
fall?
at the
or
No,
correction.
the stones washed up,
Stones were, so.
pretty significant.
Damage was done, damage was paid for. We can't do the work yet, even though we already had the money,
Yeah.
so.
So we're increasing the cemetery maintenance of 13,000 to,
To 15,111.
And the bottom line to 29,961.
What was that bottom line, Jim?
29,961.
I move that we approve an increase in 4195 to a new total of $29,961.
Second?
Moving in second. Any other questions on this one? Very good, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Okay, moving back to our old friend, 4155. We're kind of in a box, folks, because that whole, whereas the original vote called for defeated for that line item, right? No matter what we decide we have to do, we have a certain amount of statutory things that we take care of. Obviously, we have to pay social security, and the retirement and unemployment, and so on and so forth. We've had extensive conversation on this as a committee. Tom was not here for the last one, which is why I did not ask for a vote while he was here. I think we all will acknowledge that there is an issue, and the issue has been, kicked down the road for about as long as I care to see it kicked down the road. But on the same token, well, it's a little bit late for us to do anything this year because the health insurance contract has already been signed. All right, so we're gonna have to fund it. But I will tell you right now, as long as I sit on the budget committee, we are not going to go into another budget season without having certainly further discussion amongst ourselves and further suggestions for the selectmen as to how we can deal with this. And as I said from the beginning, he said, I want to make sure that people understand that we're not trying to punish anybody. We're not trying to say that everything has been done is wrong. It's just I think there are certain things that need to be certain aspects of the whole plan that need to be corrected. We've got a lot of information, but I think there's a lot more information to be garnered. So. that's
How
where I stand.
do we prevent foot dragging from occurring again?
Well,
Well, we
I'd like
jumped-
to address that.
Go ahead.
That's
Yes,
a problem.
I have thought that the possibility that we take $736 off the bottom line of this budget, because when it comes to town meeting time, there will be a difference. That gives one of us, possibly the chairman, or one of us four, a chance to stand up and explain our concerns to the voters. If we just go with this number and no one stands up, it's brushed under the table again,
Well,
because this is not part,
I-
never addressed.
Well,
always been-
it's going to be addressed at the budget hearing. I can tell you that.
Yes, but the 300 voters that aren't at the budget hearing
We'll take it.
won't hear it. However, because we're only gonna, if we only took $736, the selectmen can easily defend their position, and the voters, as they always do, will approve the overall budget. But one of us, you or me for sure, if you don't, can stand up and express our concerns. It's a small amount of money, basically it's nothing, but it does raise the question and gives us a chance to speak.
Bob, go ahead.
I think we, as a committee, we should take time after the end of the town meeting and put together a study to study the various variables that we've got to concern ourselves with. I'm in a total cloud about all of the aspects that go into this, and that we as a committee come up and study the situation and come up with some form of suggestion as to where we see for the coming year, how we can improve the situation and deal with this situation when we sit here next year and go over the same concerns.
I'm in total agreement with that, but my concern is that this needs to be presented not only at the budget hearing, but at town meeting, and get the most people aware of the situation. I'm sure most of them have
What
no
is the
idea.
situation you want them to be aware of?
The fact that our employees contribute absolutely nothing to their health care premium.
So whether or not it costs less isn't a factor.
No, it isn't.
Okay,
For me,
so it's a moral issue.
definitely,
Okay.
I agree that it's the health insurance that's the issue
yes.
to me, not holidays. Some of the stuff is kind of over the top.
But it's not a money issue, it's a moral issue.
No, it is a money issue.
How could it be? This budget this year is $9,000 less.
And
than
this
last
next year is going to be less?
So maybe,
Maybe not.
I kind of like, for instance, I read a lot on this. We talked, seemed like forever over a period of years. And what the path that most other businesses seem to be going down, I don't know about towns, was to, it was what Melvin Village Marina ended up doing, which was saying, okay, this is what health insurance costs today for our employees. And next year, that much money will be available again, plus a cost of living difference. But cost of living has been 2%. When insurance is going up at 10 or 15%, the employees are going to have to pay the difference.
and yet we're down 3%. So it's not a
Listen,
money issue.
But it's a fluke. We're down because we had somebody age out, we had,
Well, the flukes happen all the time.
yeah, but
Yeah,
the flukes can go the other way.
the overall budget
Okay,
is
so
down.
what number are we gonna set?
I'm not gonna give you, I can't give you
Well,
a
if
number.
you can't
right
give
now.
me a number,
Concepts.
then your advice isn't worth anything. Are
Well, I
we
can't
gonna
give-
set the number at $600,000 for this budget next year?
Can I give you any number tonight? No. Can I tell you that
No,
I'm gonna
no,
look at it
I
and
can.
come up with a number
I
for
can,
next year?
because,
You can give us a
yes,
number?
the amount should be how much we paid for each single employee, how much we paid, that's what applies to them, how much we paid for each family plan this year, that's what applies to them. And they all will pay a cost of living increase, and we won't pay more beyond that, the employees will have to pay that.
Okay, and maybe that number comes in higher than the number we're currently paying.
Maybe
I
it
mean,
does.
that's where I get confused. On the one hand, we have the moral issue, if they're not paying,
But
so
we've
it's
set,
bad.
but we've
And
set,
on this
but we have
end-
set a cap.
Okay, but set a cap on the whole piece. And it's only advisory at any rate. So
Of course it
whether or
is.
not we meet the cap without them participating, we're gonna go through the same argument again. Because half of your board wants some participation regardless of the cost, for some higher reason.
Well,
That's the
for
problem.
instance, if, I'm gonna make up a number. If a single person costs $800 a month, and next year it comes in at $790, then nobody's gonna pay anymore. But if it comes in at $900, we're gonna take the 800, we're gonna get a cost of living to that, the employee's gonna pay the difference. The employee's gonna pay the rest of the increase.
And that's, I am in full agreement with a plan such as that coming
Well, that's what I'm
in place.
looking for.
But the problem that we could run into is there is no increase overall. And now we're stuck with not paying, or maybe it's a 2% that the employees are paying. That's not enough. They need to pay 10%. I mean, I'm not gonna go through this argument too many more times before I start saying, vote a number, just give me a number, we'll handle all the rest. And you don't get to say anything about it. And I don't think that's a great place to be.
No, I don't.
If I may, Chip,
Sure.
Bob has made a suggestion. We've already decided that we have to give you this money this year, no matter how we go about it.
Yeah.
All right? Bob has made a suggestion that in the coming year, we all get together and we do some research on this. So no one is really telling you who right now, okay? There's a possibility that you might not even have to deal with it next year. Okay?
A big possibility,
When is
Vote.
the insurance policy?
January to January.
That's the
January,
issue.
January.
And when do we have the quote usually, Chip?
October.
So
Oh, we can
if
get
you
the-
show me this
we
year's
can
quote,
get
and you
the-
show me next year's quote, I can tell you the number.
Yeah, I can figure out the number
I
based on
mean,
your.
you have to go
formula as well.
individually, but,
Yeah,
you know.
but we're also looking at
But they
a
give-
dozen different plans.
So they
So-
give you the number in October?
Right.
So if we were to get together in October and talk about it, would we have some negotiation room?
Between the budget committee and the selectmen, absolutely.
No, I mean,
We can always
between
negotiate.
the, negotiation room with the provider.
I've never seen them budge an inch.
No, they
No.
don't.
No,
That's
they
why
just
you
tell you
don't
what it
get
is.
7 or 8 or 10
These year
quotes.
plans.
And we-
I think
and
the
we
point of the
put-
matter is that we're beating this around and that well in advance of next October. Well in
Yeah.
advance,
October's
perhaps
too
even of
big.
our organizational meeting
Right.
for the coming year with whoever's sitting on the board at the time, to sit down and say, okay, here's where we are. We will go out, make some inquiries to similar towns. We can put the private business. We will try and do our homework to get an idea of where we are and then make a suggestion to the selectmen, because that's all we can do is
That's all we
suggest.
can do.
But I like Guy's idea about not quite voting the
Well, that's fine.
entire amount, just so
That's
it has
all.
to come up for
I don't.
discussion.
I think we should just vote the whole thing.
All of the numbers.
That's
that
not
you
right,
need,
Helen, I always agree with you.
Tom. All of the numbers that you need to make your calculation for what is an appropriate amount to the budget for 2021,
Will be available in
they're available
October.
to you now.
Well, no, I need to know next year's.
No,
I
you
need to
don't.
know 2021's.
Why? Because you're basing it on, okay, this is what we paid in 2020. We're gonna give you whatever the rate of inflation is, 3%. That's what you're gonna have for a budget, and whatever's
Okay, yeah,
not.
then we can do that.
Can
yes.
can we do it on an individual basis?
No. Well, no, yeah, I think we have to do it on an individual
You
basis.
can do it on a,
We don't know how many employees we're gonna have, we don't
No, you
know
could-
how many dependents they're gonna have.
no, but you can set the rate for a single.
Right,
a
that-
family
that we can do.
and a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can plug the numbers in.
And then-
We can't let you know who gets what, I mean, that's.
No, no, I know.
No,
But-
and we don't have to.
Right.
I'm just, my.
And we can argue about a big number,
I'm
which is
I'm
much more
cloudy on the whole issue.
I'm much more comfortable arguing about a big number than I am pissing around with this stuff. You come up with a number that you feel comfortable with, and then we'll work on that. I mean, I thought we were doing that originally.
Well, but-
And that's how we came up with the
Yeah,
savings.
but on the other hand, there are employees, so,
Yeah.
you know, I don't wanna be unfair about it.
I think
Yeah.
you are being unfair.
Well,
about
no,
it.
I mean, you're just, as Gordon said, you're making a suggestion. If you change your mind in October that your suggestion needs some modification, that's fine too. But I haven't enjoyed this portion of town government very much. And I think we should do a better job at enjoying what we
You're not
do.
alone, we agonize over this at
I'm
my
sure
business,
you do.
not my business, my
We all
son's
do.
business now, every
I've
year.
only been able to contact one town to find out if their employees do contribute. That was Tamworth,
And they do.
and they do.
But they get paid a little more.
All I asked was a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And I think we can do this with Moultonborough, we can do it with Wolfboro, Ossipee, and we can get real numbers if we want to. We can do that. But again, Bob's idea is wonderful. I don't think we should wait until after town meeting even. Once we presented the budget and whatever, we could start doing that at any time. It's quite a bit of time, anytime we want to go, but either way, it's good to look at it. I like his
You're
idea.
gonna approve a number here, a bottom line,
Yes,
and then we're gonna manage it, so.
right. I do understand that. I don't,
$700 isn't gonna make any difference at all. But if
exactly.
you want an invitation to speak to this, I'll gladly give you one.
What do you think of that, Gordon?
What an invitation.
He'll give us an invitation at town meeting to speak to this.
Well, we're gonna, yeah,
We're going to anyway.
we're going to, but we appreciate the
Yeah.
legal attitude of what
Right.
is happening.
And since we only need to change one vote to make this approved or not approved, it's very simple. One person will change their vote to yes, and the rest of us can actually display a huge amount of intestinal fortitude and vote no.
Well, we know we're not gonna get a change for this year,
That's
so
right.
as long as we're gonna get an opportunity to speak, I'll change my vote.
There you go.
Well, then I would entertain a motion, please.
Then I think that the other vote should stay no, just so the townspeople
Let's
know,
do- I
you
think
know,
you gotta-
that
Okay,
there's something brewing.
I
Somebody's gotta put a
move
motion
that
together.
we approve the Personnel Administration Department budget 4155 in the amount of $632,736.
We have a motion and we have a second.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion for this evening on this subject?
Just one thing.
Yes.
I would highly recommend that everyone read the
Thornton report?
Thornton report.
I've never seen that, Helen, can I have a copy of that when you get a chance?
Yes,
And then you'd
I
have to
will
go
ask
through
Karen
Karen.
to,
Oh, okay.
I'll get Karen to send it out to us again. Can you do that, Karen?
Sure.
Thank you. And I think that it bears reading because they did address this topic. Okay,
Very good.
that's my comment.
All right.
And how
Moved and
old is that
seconded.
report?
Oh, God, 5 years
4 or
now?
5 years.
I read it, well, I was at every meeting and I read it as it came out. I totally disagree with much of it. but-
Well,
Maybe
now see,
that's
5
that's
years'
the
time,
trouble
a
with
lot of
getting a
that is-
report,
Okay,
of getting a
back up, let's
study.
back up, let's back up.
Yes, we have a motion on the floor.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Very good. It is now a.
Is that a 5-2?
Then a 5-2.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody's patience on this. It's not going to go away.
No.
And we will move forward on it. Okay, next on line, 222, correspondence, I don't have any, other than Clay has provided us with the avoided cost number that we were asking for. Does anybody want to talk about, Clay's not here, do you want to talk about that, Chip? or-
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
That's what I thought it was.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how I lost it already.
It came in the packet this week.
It's pink handwritten.
I know what it looks like.
I gotta get
I
that
lost
guy,
it.
I gotta get Microsoft.
I just don't know where it went.
I gotta show them.
Table must have eaten it. I noticed that
You
we,
can fly an F-16, you ought to be able to do it.
Yeah,
I
you
noticed
can do
that,
Excel, you can do Excel.
plastics and electronics cost us money.
I just had one comment about that. I read in the paper about the Chinese woman who bought the paper pulp up in Maine. Why can't we be shipping her our recycled paper?
It's gonna take a year for them to retool.
In a year, I think then we should revisit it.
And I think what Clay, the reason Clay does these reports is to illustrate the amount of work he does trying to find a market for his product.
Certainly justifies its
And
existence.
I don't think he's gonna leave stones unturned, but we have to keep in mind that we don't create fungible amounts of paper, if you will. If we were just gonna make an agreement with that pulp processor for just tough converse paper, I think it would be a hard deal to make, because we don't make enough waste paper. So he generally goes through a consortium of towns or NRRA, New Hampshire.
Well, I
Recycling.
think part of it is that maybe there are going to be more opportunities locally for recycled paper. And if he goes through the consortium, maybe they will.
Right.
go
And
there.
he,
But
and
I just,
he's
you know,
not,
it's.
he's not married to one group, but he does a good job of, I hope the glass is
He does
separate.
a fabulous job. I just really like how much effort he puts into everything and the results he gets. But I think I would like to see a little bit more balance between ecological concerns and the financial concerns. I think that
Right,
that's the
and
bottom
and I
line.
think, I don't remember if it was the last meeting or the one before, but I made a point of saying, it's not all about money. A lot of what we do is about taking care of the customer, the larger world, so.
That's a good point.
Okay, so
Okay.
now what we going to look at, oh, revenue.
Make sure you all buy your dumpster comes.
Okay, I have that. There's someplace.
Right here. Are we looking at estimated revenue for next year?
And there's the revenue.
Okay, right here.
Revenue's down.
Expenditures, revenue report, is that it?
This one right here.
Oh,
And it is paper with a bunch of others.
Well, I was foolish and I took the paper clip, so I'll.
Good job. And so it's paperclip, one that looks like this, and it's got the history. Okay, so that one, and then beyond, oh, there you go.
Okay. Take that.
So how do we look?
Okay, we're down a bit. Trying to figure out where we dropped.
I see 2020, I see 2018, but I didn't see 2019.
Right, 2019 is, I think right
Here
here.
we go.
Yeah.
Is that through December 31st?
Yes.
As of January 13th.
Yeah. So you can see that the estimated or the budgeted revenue for last year on land use change, for instance, was 12,970. And we dropped the estimated land use change to 10,000. We don't foresee, or we don't have anything staring at us that somebody that's gonna take their land out of current use. The timber,
Wolfboro hasn't done that yet?
no,
Thank you.
the timber tax remains the same at 27.5. We pushed the payment in lieu of taxes to 12,000. Even though we collected 29,000 this year. So we're trying not to overestimate the revenue. Excavations at 400, we collected 300 last year. Other penalties and interest is at 50,000. Last year we collected 54,816. There's no betterment, so the other taxes that you'll see, there's no betterment I guess Zadi Dow finished their payment on betterment. Motor vehicle registration, or business licenses, is that the next one? Yeah, 49.2 is what we put on for an estimate. And we've collected 50,805 so far this year. Motor vehicles is at 650, we did 682 last year, and we budgeted 630.
Buy those new cars.
Building permits at 35,000, remained the same. And we've done 39,000 this year. Other licenses, permits, we've done 7,900. We upped that to 92 because we moved the payment refund from Primex, our property and liability cover, the workers' comp and universal coverage. They give us a holiday at the end of the year, and they gave us that much money at the end of 2019. In terms of meals, is at 123,000. We collected 122,955 last year.
From,
Well, everybody that isn't on,
from one bid?
yeah.
What are we?
No, it's a percentage of the.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah, okay, yeah. We personally didn't.
We didn't
No,
collect it.
no, good.
We're not getting any money from the Airbnb,
Right.
so that's not helping. The highway block grant was 85,365. We're pretty certain, well, actually, we've got reports that it's gonna be 85,000 or some change. Municipal aid, we've got 111,930 last year, but we only have on the books 34,000 this year, but that will go up. The milfoil revenue, I don't know where that is. But that's $1,000. Other department incomes is 125,000. Last year, we took in 132,933, so that remained the same at 125. Interest is at 13,000, we did 14,245 last year, so we kept that the same. And this, we took the Primex out of miscellaneous revenue, that we're below on the other money miscellaneous.
You're still, are you still projecting for any sale of municipal properties here?
Yeah, $10,000 for current use property. Oh, or you mean, town property?
Yes.
We didn't project any.
There's no tax sales scheduled.
Okay, great.
So a total of $1,256,900. We did take, or are taking $5,000 out of the unreserved contingency fund for, or unreserved fund for contingency. So the total estimated revenues is $1,261,900. That leaves us with a fund balance after taking 5,000 out of $967,554. Which brings us to our next topic, right? AJ. So did we add $12,000 to the warrant tonight with Steve, or did we added 9,000?
We added 9,000 to make it a total of
Right.
12,000.
12,000,
Okay.
up to. And I hope that's when we write the, when the warrant article is officially written, that will include, that number is up to, but not to exceed.
The 12,000?
Yes. Is that the way we write it? Because he was alluding to the fact that if we get the great grant that he was referring to, then the acquisition cost be considerably lower than 12,000. So,
Yeah, and we don't want it stuck there forever. So we want it to be worded so that you can spend up to $12,000, but if you spend less than 12,000, it's gonna expunge that.
yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Okay. Get that, Karen?
Mhm.
The next thing we have on the agenda is the overall budget.
And do you want to include warrants for that, or do you want?
And warrants are the one
You got
out.
the figure check,
Yeah, that's just the
the
operating.
budget got approved and all the warrant articles got approved.
So,
So,
You haven't voted on
Budget.
should we wait until, are we looking at the overall budget?
I don't know why that's in here
Because
this
we
evening.
made a couple of changes, it seems like
Yeah.
maybe looking at it next.
It was just to show your votes, yep, the 2020 budget, just,
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
so there's really not, we'll discuss that as our, on the fourth before we have the hearing. So we have mine. One article. Do you want to take these things through us, Chip, or do you want us just read them?
Yeah, I can, if I can find them. There we are. Okay. So what's Article 1?
Election of officers, I
Oh,
believe.
right. Article 2, so these are money articles. To see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 to purchase and equip a new police cruiser. The police cruiser that he's replacing is, how old, do you know?
7 or 8 years old.
Yeah,
Mileage?
we, 151,000, I think it was.
So he
We had
wants,
put him off last year because we wanted to consolidate our effort in the library. So that vehicle was due for replacement last year. And so it's on again this year.
does this mean that he's gonna have one empty cruiser sitting out there all the time?
Well, that's under discussion currently. The chief would like to have an extra cruiser. The board hasn't decided one way or the other which way they're gonna go there. I mean, it adds some value, so we should offset the cost with that trade-in. He hasn't fully fleshed out his argument of keeping it.
He wants to keep the oldest one, right, Chip?
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that, so
Don't agree with that.
with him keeping a spare around.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks, I don't think the optics are good if there's just a police car sitting out there empty all the time. And I feel as though we have 4 police officers, we have 4 vehicles. I mean, to me, that's all that we need. And I think that if he wants to keep an extra one, that's a want, that's not a need. It's my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I think other
I
people
agree with
share
you.
that.
It's an extra.
I think other people share that opinion.
How do you deal with a breakdown?
That's how he was justifying it, as when one goes in for service
Goes
or
in,
repair.
or, you know, or just a, you know,
Right.
major
Well, we did-
malfunction.
I can look at it. Speak out of
Because I mean,
turn.
you know, an inexpensive alternative, to me, doesn't, you know, makes a little sense to have one where you could, if you had a major hiccup on one of your other vehicles, you've got one that you can just automatically go over and utilize. You can't put together a,
Do you have an extra one at your house?
Yeah, I got a 1941
Well,
Dodge
it's-
weapons carrier.
It's,
I would agree with you up to a point, except for the fact that every time we turn around, we have to do an update on the computer system in the cruiser. Something is gonna go wrong, you know, and everybody, everything has to be brought up to the same level, or it's not gonna be functional. So we're spending, you know, we end up spending money on something that's not being used.
Do we know what we generally get on a trade? How much
well, you
is,
have to let people know it's a police car, you don't get that much.
and I'm just,
And
Which vehicle is the oldest?
The Charger.
is it the Charger? So, last year we spent $8,000 on repairs and maintenance. That line is currently 10 in the new budget, so it isn't excessively expanded to accommodate for some old car. I guess that's one of the controls, if you will.
It ended
I think
warranty
I
on
kind
that?
of agree with Gordon that they are looking at upgrading a lot of their communications equipment.
That's some good money after bad as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
for cars parked out back.
well,
That's
But
what
that's
I'm
not our
with the
decision.
taxpayers. is-
That's your decision.
right.
Do any of these vehicles have extended warranties when you get them, and so the repairs?
It's just, there are caveats on all extended warranties that
Oh, I
if it's
know.
used as a taxi or a
Right.
police cruiser, you know,
Got it.
certain.
Yeah, Selectmen voted 2-1 on this, with Selectman Wood being no. Can I ask him to expand on that for the rest of the people that were either at the meeting or didn't watch the meeting? Is that appropriate?
That would be at the whim of the whole board. If you all-
I'd like
you do
to
it?
hear.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, boy, now. You
If
care
he's
as
willing.
well?
What is the question?
Why did you vote no on replacing this cruiser?
First of all, Chip does a hell of a job, and he speaks for the entire board.
I understand that.
I personally voted no. First of all, we had 14 months of no officers. For 4 of those months, there were 2 officers. And we have cruisers with 30,000 miles, 60,000 miles. I said for optics, I support the police station, and I support the $60,000 to get the study done, and I also support over $100,000 to get the station done. It's a liability, we need it done. And I looked the chief right in the eye and said, this is the year you don't need to go for a cruiser. I also told him, you need a 5th cruiser so that when you take 2 hours to switch a car around, you have another one, well, in case there's a call. Well, if there's a call, you stop what you're doing and you go to it. You don't come back and take that car. And I said $60,000, in my opinion, to have a spare car in case. No, I won't vote for it, and I'll speak against it at town meeting.
Can
Thanks.
I ask, you said one of the cruisers has 30,000 miles on it,
34,000 miles on it.
and the other has 60?
Yeah, there's one that he gave us the statistics on, the oldest cruiser, when he gave us the statistics a couple of meetings ago, 134,000 miles on it.
That's not a whole lot of mileage on it.
Well, I'm going to be fair and equal opportunity. In my experience, taxis and police cars, you multiply by 3, because it's cold starts, it's not a typical vehicle.
It's New Hampshire roads.
You know, we have 4-wheel drive, so maybe I'm backing water here, but I want to be fair in my approach. But, you know, there's something else that this guy has brought to the board with Bill Markison. We need to make sure after the library was funded and we made a deal with the public, we're not paying interest on loans. Let's see if we can hold the line for a year or 2. Thank you.
Now, having driven here in a car with 203,000 miles on it and owning another one with 229,000, New Hampshire roads being what they are, yes, but with proper maintenance, the vehicle can run a long, long time. That's just an editorial statement.
You don't have to be anywhere. police officer does.
Yeah.
We have to be careful.
I'm sure I use my van a lot harder than they use their police cruiser.
You do.
So are we voting on each of these
You
individually?
do have to vote on the warrant articles, which involve money.
Okay.
We have to have a motion. don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Do we know what the, and then, a question that I got the other day was, in terms of the, $60,000 price tag, what the differential is between the actual automobile and the equipment that goes into it? Do we know, is it 35, 20, is it?
I don't think that, yeah, you can only break that down so far, because you can't, you personally or I couldn't buy a police cruiser from the factory, because
No,
they're
no.
equipped differently. And I'm not sure in today's numbers what that figure is. As far as adding lights and decals and radios, we can get you that figure, but it's,
Do we do this through a consortium?
right, there's a
state
state
bid list.
bid, the state bid,
Okay.
and then I think there are one or two other avenues.
But we get to pick and make them all we want, or
Well, the
the certain
state-
offering.
Yeah, the state gets a bid from all the manufacturers, and then they make a determination what they're getting.
So much for that you go.
Well, I remember when Bartlett had Volvos.
Oh, wow.
And,
Exeter had checkers.
yeah,
Colorado was out there, Volvo XC90s,
yeah,
half the cruisers out there. That.
Yes.
gotta keep those police.
There was one
officers.
town in Florida that had Volkswagen Bugs.
In '77, the police, I had Volkswagen Golfs in Germany.
I say we go to, I say we go to those, what are those things called?
Ugly.
Mini Cooper?
No, the little two-wheel things that
How
they
about
stand on.
Rollies?
Oh,
Segways.
Segways, yeah.
You know,
Segways.
we pushed this out last year. I'm willing to make a motion that we approve Article 2 to spend $60,000 on a new police cruiser.
Moved, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have further discussion on this then? No forthcoming, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No,
All right, so we guess that's 4-3?
Oh, 4-3, okay.
We didn't hear you back.
Okay, next.
Doesn't have to hear it.
Move on. Next warrant article, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,000 for the preparation and paving of town roads.
If I might,
Sure.
am I reading that wrong? Does that say 290 million?
it does.
It is.
Oh.
290 million.
Good catch.
Okay.
I just want to get it done.
I don't have my glasses. I'm almost with you on that.
They want a little extra leeway.
Yeah, too many
Yeah.
zeros.
Okay.
I think they're addressing your concern that maybe it wasn't enough.
So,
Although they always go by the written out amount, not the,
The legal bond,
Yeah, right.
it's called.
so, but you're absolutely right. Good catch.
I have my glasses on.
So am I right, we've actually discussed this and approved this already as a budget item? Is that, no, it's not,
No.
no, it's not a
No,
budget item.
it's not a budget.
No, it's
So it's a warrant
It's a
article.
warrant.
It's a special for tar.
That's a lot of talk.
I move that we approve warrant article number 3 to raise and appropriate the sum of $290,000 for the preparation and paving of town roads.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We moved in second, do we have further discussion?
Is there any list of the roads that's gonna take care of?
Yeah, we'll provide that at town meeting. It's of the balance of Dame Road, some of Federal Corner Road, and
It may actually be in here.
could very well be there.
I remember those two, I can't think of anything else.
North Line?
Was there some more
The
time?
second, is there a second coat to go on North Line? I forget, I'm going by memory.
I can pull up the selectmen's minutes if you're
Okay.
curious.
I know it's creeped up, we're trying to
Give us
push it
a
up. a little
breakdown
bit.
on it?
I don't, it's in the September minutes, I think. I can check real quick.
We'll have the secretary.
Okay, we have moved in second, and those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Article 4?
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $34,000 to make roadway drainage improvements on Federal Corner Road, Ledge Hill Road, and Shirley Way. We have studies done by Bergeron Engineering on Federal Corner Road and Ledge Hill Road. We had a report done by the residents of Shirley Way. The $34,000 reflects the amount of highway aid money we're gonna be getting. So we're gonna allocate that highway aid money to these three items.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve Article 4 as written.
Second?
Moved and seconded, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 5.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $34,000 for the second and final phase of the 19 Mile Bay Beach Improvement Project. So that number is based on a firm estimate or contract with Brooks Construction. Part of the work has been done. They did replace the plastic.
Ramp.
Is that what they were doing down there 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because it's a grid system which allows drainage through, but they had put a plastic grid down and we wanted a cement grid, so that's what they were doing. But this will complete that beach, or not the beach restoration, but the retaining wall and the perch beach restoration.
I'll move that we vote to approve Article 4 for $34,000 to complete the work at
Article
19 Mile
5.
Bay.
Article 5.
Article 5.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
second.
yeah, Article 5, for $34,000. Sorry.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 6.
See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $24,000 to purchase a new trash compactor. I probably won't spend that on my whole kitchen. And a transfer.
Oh, you haven't started yet. Wait till you see that, what that can come to.
I know that it's come in just under $24,000, so.
You
have a
vote.
permit on that.
Is there something wrong with one of the presents?
Yeah, it's starting to fail, and
Is that?
I think it's, how old? I think it was close to 30.
That's the one where they repaired one of
Yeah.
the hydraulic arms already, and couldn't get parts anymore, and,
Right.
Had to rebuild the piston.
yeah.
He lucked out.
It's basically a useless piece of equipment then, with no value.
No,
whatsoever.
it has some scrap value, but
Scrap metal
but-
value, that's about it.
that's it.
So I'll move that we accept Article 6 in the amount of $24,000 for a new trash compactor for the transfer station.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Okay, this, Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $11,750, we're pretty exact there, to purchase a vertical baler for the transfer station. Once again, it's a piece of machinery that's inside the building that's been used for a long time.
Since the building was there.
Yeah, since we built that building, actually. And it does enable us to bale paper and cardboard, and we are doing pretty well with the cardboard, not so well with the paper quite yet. No one's gonna get us on.
Will he maintain and keep that as a backup, or will that just be trashed? Do they have any value?
Only they'll cannibalize the parts. So if he can get a couple grand, he will.
You know, if you watch Making of the Mob, I'm sure you probably find a use for it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we have a motion?
I move that we approve Article 7 as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 8.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $124,625 to pay the third installment towards the fire truck acquired in 2018 as approved by the voters pursuant to Article 6 of the 2018 town meeting. Principal amount is $111,843, the interest is $12,782. It's a 5-year lease agreement, which includes an escape clause, so we have to vote on it every year.
I move that we approve Article 8 as written.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on this one? in favor, aye?
Aye.
9.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $89,318 to pay a fifth and final installment toward the ambulance vehicle and rescue truck acquired in 2016 as approved by voters pursuant to Articles 6 and 7 of the 2016 town meeting. Principal amount is $87,105. The interest is $2,213. This is the final and fifth payment, so I'm assuming, I haven't looked at these, but I'm assuming this is a purchase payment. This is a 5-year lease agreement, contains an escape clause. So there may be $1 needed to purchase it, but my feeling is this
I'll
must be a
give them
purchase.
$1. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
I move that we approve Article 9 as written.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Very well, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10.
Number 10 is a little change from what we've done normally. It reads, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be deposited to the previously established milfoil expendable trust fund. We're not seeing that there's a $20,000 project out there for this next year, but the feeling from the selectmen was that by establishing that amount of money, which appears to be what we spend on a bad year, in an expendable trust fund, then we're not going to be constantly pumping the budget.
So it says that it was previously established. I don't remember that a previously established
Is it-
milfoil expendable trust fund.
Do we have one of those, Diane? Is it?
Yeah, we do. I was trying to see if I could find the year for it.
That's
Yeah, I knew what he meant. That's all right. He doesn't.
Hey, you.
I can't, I just went hoping the year was on here, but yeah, we do have one.
Margaret.
Okay.
yeah.
Call me Peggy.
I move that we approve Article 10 as written.
I'll second that.
I sat in on, sitting here while the selectmen were discussing this, and I consider it to be a very sound business decision, and I appreciate it. No other discussion
Marcus
forthcoming?
must have done that, didn't
Yeah. Bill speaks well.
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Article 11.
Okay, Article 11, to see if the town will vote and raise the appropriate the sum of $27,000 to be added to the previously established Fire and Rescue Department's SCBA self-contained breathing apparatus equipment capital reserve account or fund. This full amount, $27,000, will come from the who said that? Who put that in there?
Yeah, Bill and I talked about that when we were looking at these. It's
Put that in there.
it's historically been done like that.
We don't do it that way. We don't. I'm not doing that.
Okay, all the town meetings
Let's bring
before
that
were
back
written
up
that
to,
way.
okay, that's not been approved by the selectmen.
Well, the
It
amount
says-
was without the wording. You didn't have the wording that's correct. Bill and I worked on that.
All right, so
But you
we want
voted
to
on the
table 11
20.
until you get the wording correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a motion then to table Article
And
11.
I'm sorry to be so
That's fine.
sticky
No,
about
that's
that, but
fine.
that's,
That's fine.
So-
Do a
I
motion
just
to
wanna
table
know
Article
your
11 until
reason.
for pending wording ramifications.
So move.
Second.
Move in second. Those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Very good. Article 12.
to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,000 to purchase 2 town sanders. The 2 town sanders that need replacing are, well, one of them is pretty much dead, and the other one is dying a quick death. But those are, I don't know what year we got those in, but I know that they're well over 10 years old.
How many town sanders do we have?
4, I believe.
I'm-
Chief, is that all?
And what vehicles are those?
Yep, those are 2 that are put on vehicles.
Right.
Now, the big 10-wheeler is capable of dropping sand and salt on the road.
Right.
That's a
This
permit.
is the six-wheeler.
We don't have a six-wheeler.
We used to.
Used to.
So this is to sand the town roads.
I move that we approve Article 12 as written.
Second that.
Other discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
13?
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $54,000 for development of architectural plans and costs for the police facility. The $54,000 will bring us to the point of being able to create RFPs and put this out to bid in 2021 if we get the approval of the town to build it. So we will have plans, we'll have specifications and all the rest of it. And so this is the architecture right with that.
Are these delivering kind of, they'll be the as-built plans?
No,
No?
no, not until after it's built.
Well, no,
So
but
these
I
will be-
mean, those are the ones that are stamped,
Yeah,
are gonna
these will
be
be the
stamped.
specific-
For construction.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
construction.
Right.
How much money is in that capital reserve fund?
What do we have in there now, 400 something? Karen?
I think Bill said 450 at one of your
Yeah,
last ones.
450. in
Can
there.
I look at your CIP report?
It's in there.
Oh, wow.
I can see
I had to
it.
look at it. That's, we're going down to the next one before we get it done. How much? So the 54 is, we are gonna have a presentation at the town meeting this year of the police facility. So we can get input, et cetera. And it will probably happen during this portion of the meeting. That makes sense to have that, but
She didn't put the balance in here.
I think it's 450.
Oh.
Because our thought was that if we pass the next warrant article, we'll be halfway there. And,
So there's 450 in it now.
right. But we can't spend that on architectural drawings. Those warrant articles were limited to accumulating capital for the building.
What do you mean you can't pay for architectural drawings?
Because the building hasn't been approved yet,
Right.
so it has to be a.
So we
We
have to-
could, because we have in the past. We could take money out of capital reserve. If you have the right to expand, you could do whatever.
Yeah,
You could take
I have
money
to-
out.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, that's past, that's what we did.
I don't know that we have a facility this.
Okay, that's fine. Just for the conversation.
You, leave in town.
I move acceptance of Article 13 in the amount of $54,000 for the police facility.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
14?
Oh,
Wait.
there is opposed.
14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be added to the previously established police facility capital reserve fund. We successfully did this with the library, I think we can successfully do it again. It may get built in 2021, it may get built in 2023, but I think if we keep moving forward,
That's a
Just-
big amount.
it's a big amount.
And we usually do 50,000,
Yeah,
75
Take you, take you,
75?
take you 100 years to get where you want to go.
We're taking 100 years in the library, unless
You
we care about deep pockets. I was
You're the
thinking
one who
deep
who
pockets for
wanted
the police station will do
to
it.
deny,
I
poor
wasn't
Steve
the-
Wingate $9,000.
I was
Right.
denying Steve Wingate $9,000 because I couldn't see the deal. Where are we? Warren. We're looking at it, we put this in here at $150,000. I can justify that by saying, we're only $10,000 apart from 19 to 20 on our total warrant gross. So that's my goal, was to try to stay constant where we are
Mhm.
without pushing numbers through the air. So I think all of us agree, Bill and Lloyd and I agree, that we need to start working towards the goal of having a police department at $50,000. You're not gonna get one in your lifetime.
Right. I move Article 14, the amount of $150,000 for the capital reserve fund for the police.
Do you have a
Second. Second.
So moved and second, is there a discussion on this one?
I want to assure everybody here and everybody out there in television land that we are going to do a lot of study or meetings or input on what we get for a facility, because I'm not totally satisfied with the design they have put forward. And I think
And why are you not satisfied with it?
I'm not satisfied with it because I think it doesn't address the notion that we're living in 2020. We need to start looking at alternative energy sources. We need solar. We need to start thinking about alternative heat situations, maybe a heat pump. We need to rearrange the building a bit. I'm less concerned with the ability to add on than I am with the ability to have the building be as energy neutral or positive as possibly can. So if we spend a little more on insulation, I'm happy, but I think that whole discussion has to start, and we haven't started.
Are you happy with the basic square footage need?
The police chief is, I mean, we haven't really sat down and had that final go-around.
Think it's too much?
I think it's way too big, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, and
Four-man department.
I think that discussion has to happen, and I certainly hope we get a lot more public input.
How many square feet is it? Do you know?
Well, it's five,
More than 5,000.
it's a little more than 5,000.
That includes the Sally Port, a bunch of stuff that's really not livable.
It was kind of, the
Yeah,
one
right.
committee that I served on, that was guy was on it, but
Yeah.
never went anywhere. I think the selectmen threw it away. But
At least
he originally
have it.
came to us and said, I need 3,600 square feet. But
Yeah.
you couldn't fit everything he wanted into 3,600 square feet. So as you started adding what he wanted, it came to a little over 5,000. And then at the last minute, he came in and said, Center Harbor is building one that's 7,800 square feet. It's just what I want. You know? But it didn't matter. We
Do they
didn't
have
go
a
anywhere.
tank too?
Huh?
Do they have a tank?
It said in there, Tom, I think it was everything that he wanted.
Yeah.
And we should be
that's-
looking at everything
He
that's needed.
Yeah, and there was
You know?
a constant back and forth on that.
Yeah.
And I don't, okay, let's not lose sight of the fact that if we build what we need, and maybe it's a little bigger than you think it ought to be, at least we're not talking about adding on.
Yeah.
I just want to get off that. We have a 4-person department, seems to be adequate.
Right.
I haven't heard a lot of demand for 24/7 coverage.
Well, at that same committee in 2008, the chief told us that the national recommendation was 1 officer for every 750 people of your population. With 4, that means 3,000 year-round, which we don't have. We do definitely increase in the summertime, but that was the numbers he gave us in 2008. Now, that may have changed. I would ask again.
So the
Excuse me.
study that we did for the add-on, if we used the library, would have been just a little bit over 5,000, and that did not include adding a new officer. But that was what the recommendation was, and where cited and all of that. But, so
I'm
it's-
pretty confident that we can figure out a building that's going to house a police force that's appropriate for Tufton.
Right.
Well,
And then-
whatever we end up building, we're still gonna need to put money away for it.
Mhm, right, absolutely.
And the longer we drag it out, the longer it's gonna be, so.
Or end up borrowing when something dramatic happens, and I just assume limit the amount of borrowing we
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
do. Right?
Well, I give you all the advice, I run a cake sale that you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's harder to
Some
get
building.
donations.
Got some
Around here.
little cake.
That's right.
friends that were talking about police department.
Yeah, there we go. Get a little sticker for your car.
That's all.
Get out of jail free card.
Why do you think there's so many people running around with those Massachusetts State Police things
Yeah.
on their cars?
I
Yeah.
have some New Hampshire ones, I haven't put them on my new vehicle.
I vote that we approve Article 15 as written. No, I'm
No,
sorry,
move.
Article
14.
14.
You
14.
move.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded, just need a
Oh.
count.
No,
Oh, okay.
you move that we vote.
It's been
I move that we
seconded.
vote. Good.
In that case, I'll consider the question called. Those in favor of Article 14, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to update perambulation reports with Marlboro, Wolfboro, and Ospey. And this will be a non-lapsing
What do you mean
article.
by non-lapsing?
That means that if we don't get it done in 2020, we'll do it in 2021. or 22.
When was the last one? When was the last one?
Oh, the last one I think was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And the
Isn't
state law is
this-
every 7, correct?
Yeah,
The difference
something like that.
here, or our intention, because seem to get anybody younger than 1,000,000 years old to run for selectman, is
Thanks.
is to get the perambulations done with the GPS and mapped, so that it's not so hard to do it and know where your borders are.
What?
Um,
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, right now, you can go out and try to walk the lines, and
Yeah.
I know that the Wolfboro line is blazed most of the way, but part of the way, it's not. The Moultonboro line has monuments, but the monuments are so far apart that, and the woods change from day to day, that trying to get a sight line from one monument to the other is difficult. And then we've got the Ospey line, which ranges all the way up over Canaan or Bean
Yeah.
Pond and right down into the
Right,
nowhere.
down into Water Village.
So this is, basically, this is just for somebody to walk the lines? The $5,000?
Right, it's a little more than that. It's
Survey.
It's to walk the lines with a GPS device and get coordinates for each, along the way, record the coordinates, present us back with a map of the coordinates. And this is, we pay half and the abutting town pays the other half. So this is to try to get one or two lines done.
Well, the Tuftonboro Ospey line was done,
Yeah, back when you were making all your noise.
2008 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have that, and that's done with the GPS and coordinates, right?
Moultonboro's the oldest one that hasn't been done.
But I do think you're right. It seems to me that it is in the RSA's that they do have to be walked
Every 7 years,
is it
forever.
every 5
is
or
what it
7
says.
years.
That's the state law, forever.
Right. The perambulation.
The
You
perambulation.
could take a perambulator with you.
Forever by the same person.
Okay, do we have a motion on this one?
I move that we accept Article 15 as written.
I'll second.
Moved and second, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? 16.
Article 16 is the article you voted on. that
We've already voted on.
Steve brought forward. Article
Article
17,
We can't vote on it.
We
you don't
can't
have a
vote
number.
on
Yeah, I think I made a mistake on that. The selectmen didn't vote on that yet. Sorry about that.
which one?
Union Wharf, I put
No.
Board of Selectmen 3-0, but it wasn't.
Okay, Article 18. See if the town will vote to disestablish the library capital reserve fund and place any remaining balance into the town's general fund.
Okay, I have a question on that.
Sure.
If we have money apparently in the library capital reserve.
Right. Well, I don't know, there's like, I think $4 or something.
Oh, did you
Yeah.
move to get it, take it at $800? Okay.
So
In that
what's your
case,
question?
never mind. We're all set.
If it were to be thousands of dollars,
Well, obviously, we would vote to give it to spend it on the library.
you would still have to come back into the
Yeah,
general fund to do that.
Yes.
So do we vote on this one?
It's really up to you guys, because there's no money involved. I just put it on there
Well, it's,
where you had the Welland Road and things.
it's the expectation that there is some money in there.
Right, I know what you
And
mean, not
even
a
if it's
dollar.
a dollar, you have to vote on it.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
Is there money?
Apparently so.
It's empty.
$4,
It's hard to empty an account that's constantly earning interest.
Yeah.
And he's only taking the library's only taking a piece at a time. So we just need to close the account and then maybe.
Well, let's put it this way, all the money that was in, say, for a couple, $3 or $4 that was in that capital reserve fund has been expended.
DRA is gonna go for that wording without a number? I don't know.
It might actually have feedback from them, so they
Okay.
aren't so concerned, well, obviously in the end they are about the number, but they do review the wording. I have their, let's see what they say. She didn't have any comments
Oh.
to
Okay, well,
that one.
I vote that we approve Article 18 as written.
18.
Second that.
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Article 19, to see if the town will vote to establish an expendable trust fund pursuant to RSA 31:19-A to be known as the 19 Mile Brook Expendable Trust Fund for the purpose of monitoring water quality in 19 Mile Brook all the way to 19 Mile Bay. We may want to work on that just for artistic reasons. And to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in this fund, further to appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend both principal and interest from this fund. The reason we did this, last year we had a warrant article which was $45,000. We put a study together which has some flaws, which Lloyd and Steve Wingate have more problem with the flaws. I haven't really studied it enough to have a position on the flaws. But it came in late, we still have not received the final report from the testing or the tests. So what our thought was if we start a capital reserve, maybe we get $20,000 worth of work done in 2020. Maybe it starts to accumulate and we're doing it every other year. But we don't have the final report. We do know that Whitten Pond is going anaerobic or whatever, it's dying. And certain portions of the brook have got great fishing currently, but maybe less or more phosphates. So we need to continue to do this job. And I haven't seen, but we haven't had the final report, whether their readings from their monitoring system, how it correlated with the Wolfboro outflow. I mean, a lot of it, I mean, if they're stopped for a week and that's the week we tested, it could be different. So there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of
What's going on
so right,
at the Whitten Brook right now?
well, you've got the Wolfboro Rapid Infiltration Basin
No, but
project.
Jasper's up there with an excavator.
Snowmobile bridge,
Oh,
That's a snowmobile bridge?
yes.
okay.
Jeff
That's a
Levy
long
did.
topic.
Well, we wanted to monitor because of what they were doing in Wolfboro, to rectify the situation with that.
Well, now they're in Cliftonboro, so
Yeah.
we have to
Right.
wait, and we haven't.
Well, you said last year when we had this warrant article that you expected was gonna be an ongoing expense
Ongoing.
every
Yeah,
year.
and it is gonna be ongoing, it isn't gonna be $45,000 a year.
year.
It's just
Well, you
gonna,
put out an RFP in the paper for a new firm or a new opportunity to bid on this, correct?
right. And we're gonna, yeah, and we'll allow the folks that did it to bid, we just need a little more control over. And maybe we just didn't write the RFP strict enough the last time we did it, but we need to get the reports in earlier if we're gonna move at town meeting with a warrant. I can't speak with authority as to what they found, but I will be able to, and all of us will be able to, after they come in February, but that's a little late in the day.
I move Article 19 in the amount of $20,000
I second that.
Moved and seconded, other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Article 20, to see if the town will vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate $5,000 to put in the fund, set sum to come from the undesignated fund balance. Any appropriation left in the fund at the year end will lapse into the general fund. We've been doing this for a few years. I don't know that it hasn't been used while I've been on board.
We have had contingencies.
Right.
When we take money out of it, it gets spent in the proper line,
Right.
so that if you know it went to repair a bridge,
Right.
uh,
But I don't know that we've tapped into it that much, if ever. But it's good to have in
Yeah.
case something happens.
I move Article 20, in the amount of $5,000 for the contingency fund.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one you probably don't want to wait on,
We do.
right?
Right.
Mhm.
And
We've already dealt.
And we already voted on 22.
Yes, but concerning Article 22, I personally would like to see Article 22 moved up a lot closer to the front of the meeting. By the time we get done with the other 21 articles, there's not going to be a lot of people there to vote on this.
statutorily, we have to do money articles first.
Okay,
So if we have a non-money article, we could ask DRA.
well, there will be cost involved in this. Although
Petitions have to
there's-
be at the end.
Although there's not a, okay, the petitions have to be at the end, that's fine. All right, but I still would rather see it up front.
It appears as though, I mean, I'm just doing some rough figures, but we're about $10,668 over last year on the warrant.
Well, you
Because
could,
you added Steve's 9. I was trying to.
it's all my fault, right?
Yeah.
Karen, want to say?
I was just gonna say, as far as the paving, the roads that made up that amount was North Line Road and the upper section of Dame Road.
That's fine, Dave.
Okay.
And then 50,000 for road prep.
Now, on your budget figure there, and the warrant articles, what would the increase be?
On the warrant, it's about 10 grand, it's 10,668 is what I'm coming up with.
Paving.
I'll have,
Paving went up a little
yeah,
bit.
paving went
Yeah,
up,
it did go
Steve
up a
went
little
up
bit.
too. But when we meet on the fourth, we'll have all of these
Yeah.
put together and figured out.
Okay, do you have anything under Board of Selectmen or new business?
No,
Come on, you must have something.
I think I gave you all of what I had during the course of the meeting.
Can I mix Board of Selectmen and old business?
Yes.
Would it be advisable for us to revisit the highway department budget, since once again, winter maintenance was well overspent, and possibly add some to that so that to avoid the embarrassment of the selectmen having to ask for even more money at town meeting again?
No,
Then I won't. Thank you.
I'm not gonna ask for more money at the town meeting, even if we have a couple of blizzards. I think we've turned down the road so many times.
Okay.
But maybe another select will ask for it.
No, Chip, you're absolutely right.
Okay, then in that case, our next meeting will be February 4th at 6 o'clock. The earlier time so we can meet and have our final approvals before we start the official public hearing at 6:30.
Is the public hearing at the school?
No,
No,
townhouse.
townhouse.
Yeah, we don't use the school is charging us now for a lot of stuff.
And the turnout isn't that huge.
No.
usually.
No.
How much do we rent the playground to them for? How much do we rent the playground to them for?
I'm just
I don't know.
shoot the messenger.
No, we do all the ball fields.
Silver.
Okay, then, more public input? I would entertain a motion to adjourn
So
then.
moved.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
We'll see you, whatever we see you.
Yeah.